Hi, welcome to the Frugal Frau. I'm Sukey, your host, and today we're going to show you how to make a 3-bead piece of trim. And in this project or series, we used it on a door surround on the column sections. And we're going to go through the entire process of all those trims, so remember to watch for all those. But before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment, and post your questions, not your comments. Well, post your questions and your comments in the comments section on the video. And we will try to answer those questions as briefly as possible in the video responses. And then if you need more extensive explanation, we have the other series, Tom Talks Shop, and you can ask your more lengthy required answer questions there. So let's get started. At this point, Tom is just finishing up smoothing the back side of the stock. Next, square off one of the edges with the back side. Back side, of course, is facing Tom because we always square initially from the back. Next, mark the exact width you will need by running the fence along the squared edge and marking the depth on both the front and back faces. The width we typically choose for a 3-bead profile is 1 1/2 inches because it works well for the planes we have. Plane the stock down to your desired width. Note, you will be planing the edge opposite the edge that has already been squared. Tom planes the edges to the marked line first, and this prevents planing beyond the mark when removing the majority of the waste in the center portions. Next, Tom marks the thickness needed for this piece of trim. In this case, the thickness is 7/8. The thickness, however, is dependent on how your various trim pieces are to be fit together and, of course, the quality and species of your wood. Tom uses the same technique he used for planing down the stock to the desired width. Plane down to the marked lines first, which here is now the depth or thickness of the stock. And then proceed with the scrub plane or desired plane to remove most of the waste from the middle. At this point, he has switched to his trusty coffin plane. And really, it just is a matter of choice which plane you're going to use to finish off smoothing this down. And for the final smoothing, since this is the front face, he's just using his jack plane. He doesn't need to use the joiner for this, as remember, a lot of this is going to be cut off when he cuts the beads. The 2 side beads are cut first with a 3/8 inch side bead trim plane, and it is so named because it has a fence on it, so it runs along the side of the wood or the edge. Here, Tom is actually just using the plane to make a mark, so he's using it as a marking gauge to make the initial lines that he wants to run the 3/8 inch bead down. Doing it allows your plane to run perfectly along the line because it is matched exactly to the plane. For clarity, Tom is pointing to the line that he marked on the opposite side, and he's already begun to cut the bead on the first edge. This 3/8 inch beading plane is pretty beat up, but we still use it because it just works fine. And at some point, we may have to replace it or simply repair or rebuild it if we can. Tom works back and forth between the two side beads down the entire length of the trim piece. And now he is just finishing up the side beads at the opposite end. Tom is using this 1/2 inch hollow round plane to cut the center bead, which is slightly larger in diameter than the 3/8 inch side beads. Notice that Tom works around the radius on either side after cutting the center. This ensures a nice smooth transition all the way around that bead. To complete the trim, he just burnishes it with spills from the floor, or curls, or whatever you want to call those things that fall off when you're planing. And here is the final trim piece, and this is just the cutoff since we have already cut it to length.